Welcome to the March 2nd, 2024 Conservation Commission meeting. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and/or the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, Division 6, and any other applicable laws on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. All matters listed may involve a decision and possible vote. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, Division 6. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And Kwame, thank you very much for covering for me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I watched you be a very good chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Denise,
Checks in the
welcome
mail.
back.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm so
Denise.
glad to see you.
I'm glad to be seen.
Awesome. Oh, can I say one thing before you start? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I want to
Yes.
say congratulations to the Wareham boys basketball team for doing another
definitely.
tremendous job again. That was awesome.
yes, yay for them. 2
Awesome
years
for
in a
them.
row.
Go Vikings.
That's amazing. With a reduction of the school population, it's amazing they have a great team like they do have.
Yes, the coaches did an excellent job, so congratulations.
Well done, Vikings. Thank you. All right. Carol, introductions. Please identify yourselves. We go around the table. Paula Jean, start with you.
Paula Jean O'Neill.
Autumn Wood.
Carol Melanson.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Barty.
Denise Schultz.
Joseph Still.
And Joshua Farity.
Thank you. Okay.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, March 20th, 24, at 6 p.m. On the request for determination of applicability for Susan Carlson, 77 Agawam Lake Shores Drive, to permit an existing deck and shed, map 129A-1 and lots 125, 125, 77 Agawam Lake Shores Drive, Wareham, Mass.
All right, is there anybody here representing this project? All right.
Good evening. For the record, Stevie Cavallo of Farland Corp. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we've submitted
Excuse me,
a
can I
request
have
for
your name again?
determination.
Sorry, can I have your name again?
Stevie Carvalho.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've filed a request for determination, actually for some of the work which was permitted through a previous wetland permit back in 1986. It's just a slightly different scope of work, and to include the location of the existing shed that's on the property. I'm not sure if everyone has a plan or if you'd like me to share my screen to show an existing conditions plan of what's out there, what was permitted back in 1986, and what they're just trying to get administratively approved for what's there now.
Okay, Josh, can you put them up? Yes, I noticed, I went and said 76, 345, and I went back through my notes. I said, this project was approved in 86. I was saying to myself, that was a
So-
while ago.
It sure was. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so here's the existing conditions. Existing dwelling with a deck towards the rear here, and then a shed just off to the side. We've got a couple very small retaining walls. They're almost like at grade. Some are just maybe a half a foot to a foot high. And then we've got the water way back here, the Agawam River or Mill Pond. Back years ago, what they tried permitting through an abbreviated notice of intent was the construction of an additional bedroom here off the back of the house, the sun deck, and a handicap ramp. Based on the dimensions, 44 feet 3 inches to the water line, we've determined that that additional bedroom and sun deck was actually never constructed. Instead, what was constructed was this deck here, stairs here, and then they, at some point, placed this shed. There's no actual work being proposed, it's just for work that was previously performed. We also have a request for certificate of compliance on the agenda for later this evening to close out the original wetland permit. Be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay. Now, Josh, we also have this under certification of compliance. You mean that work that we approved in 86 was not done?
Correct. Well, the original permit was for an addition off the back of the house,
And that was not done?
right? And at some point, they decided to build this deck.
Now, is this deck should have come to us or not?
It's within the jurisdiction of the commission.
It's within our 100 feet. So the existing deck and shed were built without approval?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Your comments on it before I ask the board questions?
So last week, we actually allowed the board to comment first, and I think that...
You like that?
Well, I think that might be better, because I can, when I go to give you my recommendation, I can already have the set of conditions spelled out,
Okay,
depending on, how the board felt about the project. So
all right.
maybe me going last makes more sense.
I will try to remember.
I cut them, that's why.
Paula Jean, your questions.
Okay. Well, I did go there, and one of the issues we have is with anything that's an impervious surface near the water, right at the 30-foot zone. And I looked at the boards on the deck, and they're really close together, and I thought one thing could be if they had been spaced a little bit further apart, then the rain could go down through and not be just a wash-off if we have a big rain. And I also did go down to the edge of the water, and I looked to the left, and I looked to the right, and I could see built parts of houses or sheds or structures just every bit as close as far as the eye could see in both directions. So it was kind of like I thought, well, that was just the de facto okay way to do it back when it was all done. Those were my only thoughts, really. I'm interested to hear what everyone else thinks.
So you saw a lot of violations along
I
this
didn't go
section-
out with a
No,
tape
but
measure,
this
but it-
section of the access to the water. Yeah, something to look
It just
at.
looked like everybody had things that close.
Encroached.
Pretty much, yeah. It was not unusual.
Okay. Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Carol,
Is this deck the same dimension as what the original addition was supposed to be?
It's actually, I believe, slightly smaller.
It's smaller.
Yeah,
And
so the original
including the
addition
stairs?
called... I'm sorry, say that again?
Including the width with the stairs off the back end?
So I'll bring you back here. It shows the proposed addition coming off the side of the house. So this view is reversed, but side of the house and then going almost the whole length minus 5 feet. On our plan, you've got, it doesn't come to the side of the house here, so it's this much shorter. And then you've got about almost 5 feet here. So it's slightly less in area than what was proposed.
But the stairs that go down towards the water, are they closer to the water than the original addition would have been?
So based on the plan, they're pretty close, right around the 44-foot mark.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Denise,
This is an after-the-fact filing, I'm assuming,
yes.
so we're going to be having a fine
Yes.
associated with it. Also, down along the water, there's some fencing that's along the water's edge that needs to be removed. And there's also some cinder blocks that are thrown into the water right off the edge that need to be removed. That's at 77. Are we discussing 79? Just 77?
Not yet.
Okay, just 77. Okay. Those are just the remarks that I had.
Joe?
No questions for me, thank you.
My question is, if you decided not to build the bedroom, what made you put in a deck that wasn't permitted?
So again, this was done way back. The actual original application was for Marion Cummings and Patricia Hall. They're not the owners, they're not the applicants. Susan Carlson, they bought it like this. I don't know how the order of conditions was overlooked. My guess here is that the original order of conditions from years ago was actually issued to 77 Lakeshore Drive, and at some point afterwards, it got renamed or named 77 Agawam Lakeshore Drive. So it wasn't our applicants or the current owners who did that or who permitted the deck. I'm sorry, permitted the addition for a bedroom and sun deck. They just bought it like this.
So someone who managed closing didn't do the right proper paperwork.
That's correct.
Yep.
And the attorney, he actually did his due diligence, found this order of conditions, and is obviously requesting that it be closed out. And so they're here before a commission today looking to try to do that.
Josh?
Staff's recommendation would be a -3 with the condition of removal of the fences and cinder block or construction material. And then if the commission were to issue a fine, it would be $200 for work done without a permit, but would have been approved.
Is there anybody in the audience would like to, or online that would like to comment on this project? It's a shame we have to go over to the owner, current owner, as opposed to the previous owner, but I do recommend that we do a $200 fine for building something that was not permitted, and the removal of all material that's in the pond, including fence, cinder blocks, and anything else that is debris. Nothing else?
I motion to close the hearing.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 500. There's no one online to ask for their vote, so I will take voice vote. The hearing is closed. Someone would like to take a tack at the conditions?
I motion to approve with a -3 with the condition of removal of fences and the cinder block material in the water.
Second.
Yep.
And the
Does the fine go on to that?
Yes.
Statement with a $200 fine.
That be the motion?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we have a 500 vote. It's been approved. See, Josh, before you start you can't start anything, you've already started it, but do clear the fence and the cinder block and all the other debris that's in the pond. And I think that's it, right? We'll talk about the certification of compliance later on in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
This is a request for determination of applicability for Maureen Olson, trustee, 16 Salt Marsh Lane, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to upgrade a failed sewage disposal system, install a new septic tank and piping, and a new leaching field, and abandon an existing cesspool. Map 20, Lot 1001, 1002, 16 Salt Marsh Lane, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here representing this project?
Good evening, Brian Grady, GAF Engineering.
Thank you, Brian. Your comments, please.
First, I apologize if anyone went out there, I wasn't able to stake things. Apologize. So this is a septic upgrade. This plan has been approved by the Health Department. The leaching component, the leaching field component is sited outside of the buffer zone. The only work occurring within the buffer zone will be septic tank installation, and this property has an existing well. That well is to be abandoned and a water service, municipal water service installed. So a small bit of work installing the septic tank, a short section of piping to get to the leaching field, and installation of a water service line. And if I could answer any questions.
They have a cesspool?
Yes. Oh, yeah, the cesspool is off north of the building as you look in plan-wise, and that would just be called to be filled.
Thank you. Paula Jean?
No questions. I looked at both of the properties. They both have the same
Yes.
problem. And in my pictures, I'm not clear which of the properties this is, but at one of them, there's the septic clean-out cover, and there are several mature trees there, and I just wanted to make sure that they will be unscathed during the work.
I believe that's the adjacent property, and unfortunately, I don't think they'll
That's-
be unscathed.
Because they're basically, I can just picture the root system underneath. That's what's holding that pretty steep bank.
Not sure what trees you're talking about, but that's probably on the adjacent piece.
Okay.
And
That's up next then, separately. Okay.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
Visited the site, obviously I kind of figured it would be in the front of the house where the septic was gonna go. But you said the leaching field, that's gonna be in the back, obviously, right?
It's in the back if you consider the water the front,
Right,
but the
right.
leaching field will be under the driveway.
Oh, underneath, okay,
Yes.
gotcha, okay,
Yes.
okay. Yep, that's all questions I have.
Denise?
The no stakes is really not acceptable, and I would ask that in the future you make more of an effort to stake it.
Yeah, I will. I apologize. I wasn't there Friday, and I was out sick Monday, so I do apologize.
Joe?
No questions for me.
Yeah, in the past, we have continued hearings without the stakes, so please, every effort. Okay,
I do. I'm sorry. about
Josh?
Yeah, the recommendation would be -2.
Any other comments on it?
No, good project.
Anybody, I know, one more cesspool down. Anybody comment on this project online or in the audience? Seeing none,
I motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Make a motion to close the hearing with the -2 determination.
Accept the project.
Accept the project with a -2 determination.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Done. Again, no work until you get your paperwork from Josh.
Yes.
Next, please.
Okay. This is a request for determination of applicability for Raymond Murphy, trustee, 14 Salt Marsh Lane, to upgrade a failed sewage disposal system, install a new septic tank and piping, a new leaching field, and abandon an existing cesspool. Map 20, Lot 1000, 14 Salt Marsh Lane, Wareham, Mass.
And who is here to represent this project?
Brian Grady, GAF Engineering.
Thank you, Brian. Comments, please.
This project is directly adjacent, very similar, abandoning a cesspool, removing a cesspool, installing a septic tank and a leaching field. The leaching field will be outside the buffer zone. This is also located under the driveway. The septic tank, plan-wise, is opposite of the water, adjacent to the driveway. Going to your question, is it that large concrete cover you were looking at?
They're metal covers, like manhole covers. There are several, and they're on the water side of the buildings.
Yeah, there's one down at the bottom of the slope, that's just going to be
Right.
filled.
And then there's another one, I have a picture of it right here,
Yeah,
with the trees around it. There are 5 large oak trees, and it slopes off pretty steeply to the water. So I was thinking, and when that is removed, what happens to the trees?
I'm not sure which trees you're
And what
talking about.
happens? Peek? I took the pictures on my phone and I didn't make notations. But the cover.
Those trees will be altered.
Okay, great. Thanks.
But you will have to remove the trees around the area to be worked on.
Just where that existing cesspool is, there's some 3 or 4 trees there that'll have to come down. Those are the only trees coming down within your buffer zone. There's some near the leaching field directly adjacent to the driveway, and those are just too close. The root systems are going to be damaged, and if they're left, they could grow into the leaching field in the future. So those adjacent to the driveway will be coming down, but those are outside the buffer zone.
Paula Jean, anything else?
No, that was what stood out to me. I think replacing septics is great, so it's fine, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Carol,
No questions, thank you.
will this house go on town water?
This one already is on town water.
It's the other one that
Yes,
hadn't been.
the other one, correct.
Kwame,
No questions, thanks.
Denise,
There's a pile of rubble that is along the tree line that needs to be addressed.
Which, where,
I don't know if it's 16 or 14. Which one was running along the woods on the right-hand, or the left-hand side?
this is the corner one. This lot here, 14, is on the corner of Sea Lavender and Salt Marsh.
Okay, then
And
that might be the
16
one that has, there's a big pile of not cinder blocks, but concrete and stuff that are just piled in the corner that need to be addressed.
are they outside of our 100-foot?
I don't believe so. I think they're inside. It's just all just piled there, and there's a fire pit down by the water also.
All right.
I think I may have a photo of it. Let me just log in here. No one
And then
look at my password.
And then I also wanted to, I also wanted to know if the deck, was that a reconstruction of an existing deck? It looks like a brand-new deck.
We came in after the fact, after that had been constructed, so I don't know what was there previously, but looking underneath it, it looks like it was just a
Just a
reconstruction
reconstruction?
with the
Okay.
walls and the patio underneath.
Thank you.
Well, Josh is looking that up. Joe, any questions?
No, I was out there as well and saw the rubble in that fire pit, but no questions.
So the rubble is close to the water?
Yeah. Right there on the right, yep.
See that?
Okay, yep.
I think so.
So that's,
I think so.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know, that
Wasn't sure.
lot is quite wide. And that looks like it's close to the tree line where there's a path down to Sea Lavender.
yeah, that looks close to where the cesspool is to be abandoned, so
Right in there.
when they are there to abandon the cesspool, that can easily be removed.
Thank you.
And what about the fire pit?
I don't know who owns the fire pit, but it's down by the water. I don't know
It
if
is
it's,
close.
if it's the 16 or 14, or,
I don't know if you have a picture of
you
it.
have a picture of that?
It's almost like right where you stand.
It's almost right where I miss. It's like right here. Yeah, I might be standing almost right next.
Which
to
is,
Yeah, if you face the water, it's way to the left, right there.
Right
That's it.
there.
which is 14.
I don't know which number is
Oh,
right.
there it is.
There it is, right there.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So remove the rock debris along the tree line and the fire pit. And that is at 14 Salt Marsh Lane. Very good, everybody. I did not get to that site. Thank you for your eyeballs. That's why we visit them. Josh, any comments?
Staff recommends the issuance of a -3 with the removal of the rock debris and fire pit.
Say -3?
Correct.
Anybody in the audience or online like to comment on this project? I'm seeing none.
A motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a motion to clear the hearing, and I have a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Motion to accept the project with a -3 determination, with the condition of the fire pit and the rubble from the site must be removed.
Second?
I have a second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's 500, it's done. See Josh before you start the work, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, please.
Okay, this is a notice of intent for Philip and Gloria Ragusa, 79 Agawam Lake Shores Drive, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for a septic system upgrade within the 100-foot buffer zone of an existing pond. System is as far from resource area as possible, with variances requested from the Board of Health. Map 129A, Lot 126, 79 Agawam Lake Shores Drive, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you, and who's here to represent the project?
Darren Michaelis from Foresight Engineering.
Darren?
Darren? Yep.
Your last name again?
Michael is Michaelis.
Okay. You're up.
All right, so we have an existing home built in 1993. Existing septic is in the front yard, consisting of a septic tank and a small leaching trench. We're proposing a microfast system per the Wareham rules and regs, with a leach field in the front yard with H20 capability, so that we can remove the driveway and then replace it for parking later. There's no elevation change in the property. The entire front yard is grass area now. We're relocating the water line in order to fit the system, and we've been granted all the variances from the Board of Health. I can't move it any closer to the road, so we're 86 feet away from the corner of the leach field to the pond. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Paula Jean,
No questions, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Carol.
No questions, thank you.
Was this a failed system that had to be replaced?
Yes.
It was a cesspool or a tidal
It
old,
was a leaching trench, a
just a
3-foot by
leaching?
3-foot by 13-foot trench, 6 feet in the ground. It worked for 30 years, so
Wow.
somehow, yes. Just because the original owners are still there, and it's just an older couple.
Too many grandkids coming to visit. Put a
Probably.
text this, put a, never mind.
Taxes
You know what I'm
assistant.
trying to say? Yeah, it texts this, text, I got it, the system. Well, that's one more bad thing out of the way now. Okay,
Correct.
Kwame,
Went to the site, have no problems.
Denise,
Again, the fencing along the water, there's a short fence that needs to be taken out.
Okay.
And also, the steps and the dock look like they're really in poor condition.
Yeah, they're selling the home, so they're not looking to use those. If you want those removed, we
I
can
think they
probably-
should be removed.
can probably
It's
get those removed.
really detrimental to the resource area.
Okay.
you said remove the dock
There's
and the
a small
fence
dock and steps.
and steps.
Yeah, they're
and
both
there's
in very poor
fencing
condition.
that's just stuck in the ground.
Okay,
down there.
fence, dock, steps.
Yep.
Joe,
I went out there and no concerns, nothing like that.
okay. Josh,
Staff's recommendation is the issuance of the standard order conditions with a special condition of removing the fence and a special condition of removing the dock and stairs.
Is there anybody online or in the audience who would like to comment on this project? Seeing none,
I motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Thank you very much.
Well, not done yet. You just closed the hearing. Nice try. All right, someone needs to make a motion.
I motion to issue a standard order of conditions with the special condition of removing the fencing on the water and a special condition of removing the dock and steps.
Okay, second that.
I have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Now you're done.
Now have a good night.
No work until you get your paperwork from Josh, okay? Thank you. All right. Carol's writing.
Okay. Next, we have, where are we?
Sandy Beach.
Yeah, Sandy Beach. This is a notice of intent for Sandy Beach Association of Point Independence, Inc., 14 Cove Street, Onset, Mass. 02558. To remove vegetation that has encroached into the original beach footprint due to a lack of maintenance in the past and beach nourishment from high tide landward. Sands of similar grain size will be utilized. Map 2 and Lot 2 through 257, 14 Cove Street, Onset, Mass.
Thank you. I believe the applicant wished to have this continued until the next hearing.
Yeah, Mass DEP was looking for more information.
Okay, next hearing's what,
April 3rd.
4/3. And if anybody's listening, I would love to know who authorized and permitted the building of 2 benches on that site within the last 2 years, so that will be discussed at the hearing. There's 3 benches there, but one's been there for a long time, but all of a sudden 2 more showed up, so we will be discussing that. So I'd like to have a motion to continue until April 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're continued until April 3rd. We have continued hearings. Prime Engineering, 3370 County Road, that is the solar project.
Yep, they have requested a continuance. We are still waiting, or you guys are waiting to review a comment letter from our town consultant.
Okay,
So April 3rd was the requested date.
I need a motion to continue until April 3rd.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. We're continued in for April 3rd, in Faring Hill LLC, County Road. Anybody here to discuss this one? And please identify yourselves.
It's John Churchill, the project proponent, Brad Bertolo, project engineer, Peter Titlebaum, project attorney. Glad to be back.
Hi, Peter. Hey, John, don't normally see you here.
Not often.
No, not often. Well, welcome. So who would like to talk about what's been going on down there?
Brad?
Start off with Brad.
Okay, Brad.
Always go to me. Yep.
And he can talk without notes, which is always very impressive.
Whoa.
Got a lot out of
That's a lot of
He pulls out 8 folders.
Pulls out a lot of paper.
Oh, man.
Is there a specific plan you want me to project?
Well, we're currently under review from 2 projects, so just today, I forwarded revised plans addressing planning board comments. There
I
doesn't...
saw that.
Yeah. Doesn't impact any of the work within jurisdiction, same footprint. If it's something you have, I do have minimized versions on paper if you want to take a look.
Anybody want to see another piece of paper on this project?
No.
I don't have any papers, so I'll take some. Sure.
These are a little bigger, just the drainage stuff.
Okay, so they have options.
Yeah,
Just give me a small one.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll take one as well.
You're all set, Joe?
Thank you.
Small one. You wanted
I'm all set, Peter, thank you. Yeah.
I'm set, Peter, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
Sure.
Have the trail plan, too?
All right, good evening again, Brad Bertolo, JC Engineering. We were before you about a month ago, and at that time, we were still looking for comments from the review consultant. As of 2 weeks ago, we still hadn't received the final peer review regarding resource areas. That came, I believe, to us on the 11th. So we were able to address planning board comments and what was submitted today. It was all items not under any jurisdiction of this board. Involved some buffering, a couple elevations in the drainage system, some easement areas, some property lines, minor information. We did receive on that peer review regarding resource areas a few comments. We feel that regarding the resource areas, we meet all the requirements with setbacks. I think one comment was regarding the potential vernal pool, and we're drawing the vernal pool based off the local bylaw, which is more stringent than the state. Because the local bylaw adds 100 feet to the mean annual boundary of that depression. So to avoid going through the time of trying to determine whether or not it's a vernal pool, we're just assuming it's a vernal pool and working with those setbacks. Whether or not it's determined in the future, if someone wants to do a study, it's not going to impact the project. The land around it is going to be used, or just outside the buffer zone of that potential vernal pool. It's going to be drainage area, so it's not going to open up any more land area for future development. We've maximized the lot count on the remainder portion of the project. Again, the site is 153 acres. We have about 115 acres of open space, includes that pond in the middle. We are only doing work in the buffer zone of some of the wetlands around that bog, and then, the pond, and then some additional wetlands that are adjacent to the site or just within the site. The roadway comes in, it does cross over an isolated wetland, about 700 feet into the road, or 600 feet down the road. That was an area where it appeared that that material was dug out for bog operations in the past, and it kind of encroached into this property or off their property. And it was just deep enough that it supported hydrology and wetland plants in that small area. Total overall isolated wetland is about a little over 2,200 square feet. So we are proposing 1,400 square feet of filling. I know that one comment was whether or not we were proposing to replicate that area. That option's on the table if this board decides we have space for it. That wouldn't impact the project if it's necessary. Regarding the other wetlands, we meet our required setbacks. The drainage system has been reviewed by the consultants under 2 separate reviews. All the drainage work is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as, through planning board. But we have 5 infiltration basins that are sized to handle the 100-year storm event, so we contain the runoff, and we've shown that peak first post runoff volumes and discharge rates are no greater or less than it is today for those design points, which would be, off-site abutters or on-site wetlands. So we meet the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Stormwater Handbook, and we feel we meet the local and state wetlands bylaws. I know this project's been before you for many, many meetings, so I'm sure you've seen these plans, but if there's any other questions you have, we're happy to answer.
All right. Paula Jean.
I'm just looking on here, I'm just really curious where on this map the alleged, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, vernal pool is
It's
located.
Up at, take a look
Is
at.
this it right up here?
You got it.
Okay,
That's
good,
it.
because it's salamander season coming up,
Yeah,
You
it's
can
close,
take
yeah.
a look,
You
yeah.
can see it a little better, I think sheet 12, it's a little zoomed in a
Okay,
little further.
thank you.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Carol.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
No questions at this time.
Denise.
Thanks.
I do think that any loss of wetlands does require replication, and I think you should look into including that in your plans. Okay.
Joan.
None for me.
I did receive the open space trail plan. Was there any documentation about how it's to be maintained?
We are preparing that to present to the
To
planning.
planning board?
Yeah, so it's eventually going to be on, I believe is it going to be a recorded document or part? Yeah, it'll be a covenants that's put together as part of the association.
I'm sure the homeowners association will have control of it.
Yeah.
Because I noticed several points in which you access the pond, only 3,
Well,
none close to the houses.
Yeah, I wanted to show areas of existing paths.
Existing paths, there could be others.
We're not proposing any work under that. If this board, I don't know if there's discussions, but I want to talk about allowing maintenance, which basically would be pruning and trimming branches.
And I'm sure that would be part of the plan that you're going to present to the planning board, is how to maintain these or provide more access. When you look at behind houses 41 to 37, they're on the pond and they have no access,
Right.
at least on this band.
Yeah,
And,
due to the grades, we're not anticipating direct access, so they'll use...
Is it a little too steep?
There's some grade changes on the back of those lots. And it's kind of probably too steep to easily access the path that's around the pond. But we do have a number of sidewalks, and I show points where we tie into the roadway system. So there's, I think, 3 or 4 different spots, or 4 spots that where they have easy access to walk around. Again, the paths that are there, there's almost 2 miles of path that's
Well, not only-
around the site.
But
so-
once you start putting a path during a sand pit, no one's going to watch that path, and they're going to walk any place they want on the sand pit.
Well, yeah,
on the
yeah,
sand,
exactly.
so-
So it's hard to
Yes.
delineate a
you know.
path in that
I was more
spot.
concerned about what was around the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just highlighted what's there today.
To your point, if you look at the little spur that comes off, that's maybe a couple of 100 yards away from the houses on the north side of the pond. That's the one that we managed to get you down when we went out for the site visit.
That was so, yes, thank you. I only tripped coming up.
No, you didn't do badly at all.
That's what I get for wearing Crocs.
Just one more point, Sandy.
Yes.
Usually the replication is done in a ratio of 1 to 2. Take 1, you put back 2.
I'm not sure the bylaw discusses that.
I've read it somewhere, I've got to find it, and then I'll bring it back up to you.
Well, something like that, I mean, we're pretty close here. This has been in front of this commission for almost 7 months. So, I mean, if we can condition stuff like this, that's definitely, it's only, you're talking about 1,400 square feet of basically it's an isolated wetland. If you've done the site visit, you'll see, it's just basically they dug out sand for the bog operation, and it's just, there's grasses, is what it is. It's like basic grasses that they dug out to within 2 feet of groundwater. So now you have
Where
the
is that?
hydrology. That's, the crossing actually is if you come, coming up where the vernal, prior to getting to that vernal pool area.
Yep.
You'll see it, it's actually goes off onto the neighbor's property, so we actually have to put a,
Isn't that part of the ditch?
No, this is separate.
Okay.
right, this is separate, this is prior to the ditch along the roadway, probably about, I don't know, 500 or so feet in. We cross it, and it goes off into the neighbor's property, so.
Okay.
Basically, the depression, if you will, was not shown on the approved plans. These plans were approved as a subdivision with this almost identical layout of roadway back in, I don't know, 2008, 2010, had extensions through 2016. So we didn't originally pick it up as a wetland because it wasn't not shown or approved as a wetland up till 2016. So during the review, they mentioned that we probably should look at that a little closer, determine it's wetland. So we're more than happy to replicate. We have 115 acres to replicate. We'll replicate 2 to 1. That's not even a contention. So,
thank
so
you.
basically, we'll find a spot or pick a spot. You guys can pick a spot, and we'll replicate that area.
Okay.
I have one little shot in the dark, but how big is that man-made pond?
30, a little over 30 acres.
30 acres? Okay. That's,
Sure.
yeah. Thank you.
Josh, your turn.
I think the commission and myself were concerned on the size of the project. That's why we hired the peer review engineer. All of his comments have either been addressed by the applicant or are no longer a concern of his. I do think there is some proper conditioning to meet an approval tonight. And I think we could go from there if the commission wants to talk about conditioning.
Okay. Anybody online or in the audience would like to make comment on this project? Yes, I'm going to need a space at the table for one person, please. Yes?
Thank you.
Please come to the microphone and introduce yourself.
My name is Annie Hayes. I live at 52 Farmers Lane. And I have a series of maps. I'm concerned about stormwater, the quarry, and the groundwater that is the source of the quarry pond, and also saltwater intrusion, which is, with the people studying it, said to be, Wareham is said to be the the poster child for saltwater intrusion, which is when the salt water that's coming in from sea level rise makes its way under the ground and intermingles with fresh water, thus contaminating it. And you also have the degradation of the salt marshes that leads to all of that. There are all these compounding factors that don't get presented in a flat plan. And I would also say, if you had X-ray vision and saw 50 houses with plumbing infrastructure and septic systems and all of the drainage, it might look kind of like Swiss cheese because they're very closely packed together. And I know that Manhattan may not be a corollary, but in Manhattan, buildings are sinking because of all the infrastructure, the water intruding, and the heat that is also affecting the instability of the ground. So you can see the hidden trails. It's my scrawl, but you can see the quarry. The quarry seems to have changed some shape. We know that Mary's Pond is already Rochester, and that little ancient trail that goes from County Road right to the left of the quarry is where 370 will be. I won't address it, but it's in proximation to that. So you're also dealing with loss of upland forest and all the rest habitat. And Denise always has us look at the cumulative effect, right? The next map is the overview of how close the rivers are. The Sipican is,
there to the left of the quarry, and I think it's Cohacket Brook feeds into that, and then the one that's more visible is the Wee Wee Antic. The next one is a FEMA map, the blue-green one is a FEMA map from it says 2014. I think my other ones that I have beneath it are 2021, I'm not sure. But 2014 is a long time ago in sea level rise. And if this is a 30-year housing development, I mean, everybody hopes their houses are built well enough so they'll last 50 years. But you can only extrapolate what this might look like in 50 years. You can see that black dot in the left side, that's the quarry. And you can see how there's the conservation land, or whatever it's called, below the quarry is cupped by the flooding. And then there are the brooks, et cetera. When you get closer, same place, the quarry is that blotch on the left, and you start to see at a closer view Zone AE at 14 feet elevation is what is next to the quarry. The quarry, look how close that flooding is to infiltrating the quarry. So what's happening underneath? This is not a constant, this is in a flood, but AE is a risk zone. And I have no idea how deep the quarry is. I know that the railroad track did a spur into that sand pit where the quarry is, and then the sand above it and slightly below it, because that much sand was extracted that they thought it worth their while to add it to the railroad. And through you, I would like to know how deep the quarry is, because questions of instability are still very much on the table. Mr. Baptiste says it's very unstable because it is a quarry. Mr. Corbett, last planning board meeting, said that it just collapses where you stand on it, so not so much of a problem. The last one, I know, Sandy, you're getting a little impatient maybe, but the last one shows you that cup right around. The forest has been cleared for that solar project that's there, and then more of the upland 10 acres, or it's an 18-acre project for 370, and then how many acres? I think it's 50 acres above the quarry for hidden trails.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. May I ask a question? Is there an issue about this pond collapsing on us? I mean,
The pond's not going to collapse. The pond's groundwater. It's sand. And Mr. Corbett, just to find it, basically, you dig a hole in the beach.
and the sand collapses.
And the sand collapses in on itself. So that's what was said at the planning board meeting.
Okay.
That basically the sand collapses. It's not a sheer wall. And at the end of the day, the quarry or the pond is going to be utilized by the homeowners. Sam Corbett admitted to swimming in there. I know many of people that have swam in there, fish in there. It's a recreational pond.
Okay.
What's below the surface is sand.
So
And that's what you're going to find if you go into that pond.
we had two planning board members mentioned that they made comments. Neither of them are the scientists, or were their comments included in the paperwork we got from our peer reviews for their concerns or anything like that? I mean, so it was a layman's comments regarding the condition of that pond, right?
Correct. And to your point, in that map, the flood zone map, again, that was brought up at the planning board. And if you look at the map and you look at the pond, the flood zone is to the south. All the development is to the north of this, or as we call it, quarry. It's really
Yes.
a man-made pond, is what it is.
Okay, yes.
So,
Okay.
if you look at the map, if you look at the maps, I'm looking at this map right here, and I don't see it up there. So, basically the sand, and you didn't have the opportunity, I don't believe, Sandy. So, and I'm sure that to the members. of the
Yeah, all
board. See
that that flood zone, it's all off the property. That's not even
Yes.
on this
So
locust
this
property.
right here, as it's labeled quarry here, the man-made pond is here. See this beach right here, if you will?
Yes,
That beach is.
It's
if you're
off
looking
our
at this-
picture.
That beach is part of our trail map. If you're looking
Yes.
at the trail map, that's what the trail map goes through. It's actually a
It's
very nice
down-
beach area on the south
it's
side.
down-
Thank you, Brad. Exactly.
right
That's
there.
in that
Yeah.
area, right there. See, 'cause you see by the contours, actually. Brad, you want to point out the contours, please, for the
the darker lines.
darker lines? That right there, that's all the beach. in there. Even though we call the trail map kind of going through that beach area, that's just a wide open.
You mean sand?
Yeah,
Sand.
beach, sand, well,
Yeah.
it's all sand.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else to
Clarify that.
comment on? Yes, Josh?
While I respect the concerns of the public for general safety, it's really not in the commission's purview to be permitting or denying anything based off those facts.
We are wetlands bylaws.
You're
and,
looking at how the project affects the resource area.
Yes, thank you. Denise?
I have a question on a letter that Annie Hayes did write back in January concerning rare habitat area. I'm unclear as to what she's referring to and what her definition of that is.
So are we.
Yeah, did your consultant indicate there was rare habitat? Because I didn't see any rare habitat, or it's not mapped as
I'm
rare habitat?
asking Ms. Hayes, because that's the letter that she has here.
Annie, you want to come up and address this letter and you proof that there is invasive habitat up there? Invasive, rare
I
habitat.
don't recall writing that, Denise, sorry. But I have listened on many occasions to Eric Lintola talking about. So I might have gotten that transposed. Eric Lintola.
Okay.
Okay, so, but there's no proof that there is we have an issue with rare habitat or in that area?
No, none has been
Okay,
brought
Josh,
forward.
did you have any comments on this project?
Only for the fact that we should condition it appropriately.
Are you ready to make that list this evening?
Yeah, I think we can figure that out.
Okay, I want to see if there's anybody else who'd I had a comment online, okay? Please bring them in and have them introduce themselves.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. My name is Catherine Harrelson, and I'm a member of Community Land and Water Coalition, a nonprofit organization that serves Wareham, Massachusetts. I just have 3 comments about this project. Number 1 is that Community Land and Water Coalition submitted extensive comments about this project on October 4th, 2023. And I'd like to ask the commission to take these comments into consideration while they make their decision. I just want to elaborate on point number 2 that we made, where the residential development is proposed. It's entirely mapped as critical natural landscape components by Biomap 3. And this is used as a local planning, this is created to be used as a local planning tool when making decisions about conservation and development in Massachusetts. So I'd like the commission to take that into consideration. Furthermore, on that point, I was just looking at Mass Mapper this afternoon. And although the project area is not mapped as a FEMA flood zone goes up just south of the project site. And it follows Cohacket Brook. And Cohacket Brook is connected into Buzzards Bay. And so this FEMA flood zone extends all the way from Buzzards Bay to just south of the project site. And why I bring this up is because there is just beautiful wildlife back there. There are blue heron, and another local resident I've talked to said that there are mink back there. And these are not animals that you see every day. They live in very specific habitats. These are aquatically adapted species that live close to the water, that feed on fish. And I've heard residents say that they see fish, all the way up in Cohacket Brook. And these animals this is an entire ecosystem back there that's dependent on this wildlife corridor in West Wareham that connects all the way down into Buzzards Bay. So this is an entire ecosystem that's dependent on these woods for survival and its connection to Cohacket Brook. And so I think that a wildlife survey should be conducted before the project goes through, because I think that it's important to the town of Wareham to know exactly what they're threatening, exactly what they're threatening with projects like these, because these species aren't found everywhere. You can't just walk down any street in Massachusetts and find these species. They only live in specific areas, and Wareham's, I think, lucky to be one of them that has these animals living there. So that's my first point. The second point is, one thing that we're questioning is the amount of sand mining that's been done on this property. And
That's prior to That has happened in the past. That's not part of what we're looking at here.
Okay, all right, so we just want to question when the earth removal bylaws went into effect in Wareham and if any
I
took place
don't
after
know,
those.
and that's not part of conservation.
Okay, all right, and my third point is that I think that there's still an open question about exactly how this land is going to be conserved. I think the application states that there's approximately 70 acres of land that's going to be untouched or put in conservation, but I think there's still a question about the exact method of conservation that the landowner is going to use to permanently protect that area.
All right. Were there planning to be a conservation restriction on this, or is this part of our conditioning?
The planning board, regulations are pretty clear on what you do with open space. Natural, unstayed, that's all in the all in the covenants that are in front of the planning board.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a covenant, and it's going to be a restriction, the homeowners association.
We are limited to what affects our wetlands, 100 feet within our wetlands, and the potential vernal pool, and the replication of the wetland that we want to do for 2,800 square feet. So we are limited to conservation in our wetland bylaws. Josh, anybody else online or comments? Yes. Please come up and identify yourself. Nancy.
Thank you. Nancy McHale, Faring Hill Road. Just a comment, looking at the density of the housing, and knowing that there are now 56 septic systems.
Not part of what we're here to do.
Part of what you're here to do.
We will do each house independently for their septic system as they approach our wetland area of, that we can condition.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion to the applicant that they, in their HOAs, have regular monitoring of the quality of the water of that pond? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure we'll pass it on to the planning board. Anything else? All right. Anybody else on the board before we ask Josh for his list of conditions? Because unless out, I believe we are close to closing the hearing. Anybody would like to have this hearing continued? Paula Jean? Hearing means we take no additional information in.
Yeah, once we close.
Yep.
I thought I was going to get out the bylaw and read it again, because wildlife habitat is listed in there as being something we consider, correct?
Josh? A little?
It's in the
It's
bylaw.
written in there.
Yeah.
There are no performance standards of what we consider to be wildlife habitat.
Right, it's not specific, but,
No.
but to the point of what I was listening to the, one of the previous speakers, that I think that is something that is important, and I hope we do consider that.
Okay. Autumn?
Just to that point a little bit, the required amount of land to be conserved under the planning bylaw, or zoning bylaw rather, I believe is 50% in order to qualify for cluster zoning. So it's a trade-off. You're basically saying, we're not going to develop, 90 acres of this and on, 2-3 acre lots or whatever. We're going to shrink it back and conserve more habitat. In this instance, aside from the 38 or 39 acres that's devoted to the lots and the roadways, the rest is all being preserved. So we're actually going to be preserving about 50% more than that bylaw requires. So to the point about habitat, this plan is, I would say, about 100% more respectful and maintenance of the open space than the prior approved subdivision was back, 15 years ago. So this is, it's a significant amount.
I understand that, right.
So, I mean, in any project, you're going to have some that involves, cutting trees, you're going to have some habitat loss. We acknowledge that. But this plan was crafted to minimize the amount of habitat loss, to preserve an amenity for the people who are there, and also to preserve, again, two-thirds of the property or more, in addition to the pond, is going to be left alone. So this is sort of the trade-off and everything else that you get when you pass a cluster development bylaw at town meeting.
Well aware, I know,
So-
well aware. I mean, even though you're referring to just the area that will be actually developed, it still impacts the entire property. Just having housing there, having people walking there, never mind if there's runoff or what septics will do or what will happen when salt water rises in there. And, it affects it. It's not isolated.
I wasn't going,
And
I wasn't, Ms. Slavin, if I can respond. There is no saltwater intrusion that's happening in here. I've dug wells 100 feet from the ocean, and the interface between freshwater and saltwater is approximately anywhere from 10 feet down. If I don't have a map because I can't find the ocean on our locust map. It's 2,000, it's 1 inch equals 2,000, and I can't see the ocean on this map. I know there's a flood zone because there's elevation 14 south of this property. So the maps that you're seeing there is a little deceiving, because what you're seeing in the actual, Josh, if you mind scrolling up, please, because I'm trying to correlate our map with what's being presented, down, actually, just to there, thank you. So so if we go down a little bit, Josh, or I guess up, a little, just to hit, right there. So see that's all gonna be open space, all that green.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? The Cohasset Brook is not, you don't see Cohasset Brook on that property, on our property. Cohasset Brook is actually south of our property. The development is north of the pond. So when they're talking about wildlife, and I definitely totally understand, in that area, there is an intermittent stream in that area. There's things of that nature. It's where that walking trail is, and where the Cohasset Brook and the intermittent stream, you're almost, that area there, what do you think, about 1,000 feet away, Brad? 1,000 feet away from what they're portraying, that we're intruding on the wildlife in that area.
Right. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, that this is not as bad as in the past, and in 10 years, we'll look at this and go, oh my word, overall, we haven't been heading in the right direction. But I understand we need housing, I understand you're in business. I'm a realist. I just feel sad to see additional loss of habitat and open space.
Well, the good news is we're preserving 115 acres, whereas the previous approved plan, there was 0 acres preserved. So we're preserving 115 acres. So that's definitely a plus. I mean, I'm a Wareham resident. We've done business in Wareham for the past 25 years. We care about the community. And that's when I saw this plan, I saw it was previously approved, I said cluster subdivision all the way. It's zoned for residential, zoned for 56 lots. You're allowed to do sort of what's on this property, what it's zoned for. We meet all the wetlands protection bylaw standards. We meet the stormwater protection standards. We meet the 90% TSS removal standards. We meet the septic systems. We've offered up that we're going to do denitrification septics on all 56 houses. We offered that out of the kindness of our heart because it is an open space cluster subdivision, so we are looking at the environment as well. And we're not required to do that, but we are doing that. Reduce the amount of roadway down from almost 15,000 feet of roadway to like 6,000 feet of roadway. So we've significantly reduced that down. So this project is a big improvement over what we could potentially do on this property. And with respect to the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw, wetlands, we meet all the standards. We check all the boxes with the regulations. So.
Well, it sounds like you've been on a roll going in the right direction. I just hate to see you stop now.
Thank you, Paula Jean.
Thank you.
Autumn, are you ready to close the hearing? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I just want to note too, this is a large project. There's been a lot of work done by the applicant, by the commission. We've hired peer reviewers, we've done technical reviews, we've had stormwater reports, and the public has put a lot of time and thought into this too. And I know it's just a bigger project than we typically look at. Normally we look at singular properties and parcels of land. And just to note too, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, there's a small portion of this that the commission is available to review because we are limited to the wetlands and what is within our purview.
Carol?
And just to that point, the planning board has sort of taken up where your jurisdiction stops. And, the hearings with them have been equally as rigorous. They too have heard from neighbors. and we've taken those things into account. I was just reviewing some documents today that will go along with the homeowners association that don't talk about environmental issues per se, but they talk about quality of life issues that were brought up by residents that have been addressed in there. So where you leave off, the planning board has stepped up, and I think some of their comments will result in a better project than we initially brought in.
Carol?
I have nothing further, thank you.
Kwame, anything to add? Denise?
I guess my concern is, I know I'm coming in at this whole thing at the tail end of it. You're saving all these areas, you're developing certain areas. What's to stop you from coming back in the future and wanting to develop the areas that you're saving now?
Because there's going to be a covenant restriction on the 115 acres. The planning board has in their regulations that it needs to be natural, undisturbed, undeveloped, and that's why we're asking, that's why we did the trail plan, so that in the future, and we're hoping that you can, and part of the conditions is to include this trail plan so that the residents have at least that trail when things start to grow back in, when the sand starts to turn into vegetation, and that we can always rely on this in the future, that they can maintain that path that currently exists right now, because that path has been used for 50 years, these paths. They're walking paths, and I don't know who's been, I apologize, I wasn't at the on-site meeting, and I know Ms. Slavin came out, but I'm not sure whoever else, but whoever's been to this site and actually walked this beautiful trail, because this is the trail you'd walk if you actually walked around this pond during your site visit. Some members have, of the planning board, some members were only able to get basically to the north side of this pond without even going around the entire, it's a 2-mile leg. So it's I think the size of this, and you see it on a piece of paper, it's large. But what's to protect? Town council is responsible to review what's required or what's allowed. In the zoning bylaw, it says what's allowed and what this can be, and that document has been created, and in that document it says that it's always in perpetuity to be maintained, no buildings, no structures.
In that whole green area?
In that whole green area, except for if you ask for a permit from the board, if they want to put a dock, say, in the pond. So if the residents want, or if they want to put a pickleball in an area, if they want to do that, they'd have to come back and get a permit from the planning board or somebody if they want to do something to that effect. But it says no structures, even though a dock, I guess, is a structure, but it says no structures. So there'd have to be some flexibility, but you're not going to see a ton of houses now. This is preserved in its natural state in perpetuity as far as basically as the document is written and will be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, which will be approved by Town Council.
And this will come through in a couple of different ways. It's going to come through in the planning board covenants, the protection you're talking about, and it's also going to come forward when the homeowners association document is recorded as well. So it's going to be referenced in two different documents to be recorded with the Registry of Deeds. And so anybody going forward can see right on the record title that this is perpetuity, you can't mess with it. And the word perpetuity is used in the HOA language that I've been working on with John.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have one more tiny
Wait,
question.
let me, Joe?
I have no comments.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Paula Jean?
So in the restrictions, you were just referring to motorized vehicles excluded from either on boats in the pond or dirt bikes around the trail or in that whole area? Are you restricting that?
It does not specifically restrict that type of activity. It doesn't say you can or cannot do it. It doesn't talk about it.
You're not restricting motorized vehicles in there?
The document that we were referring to is basically to make sure that the covenants is, as it's written right now, is more of a, to follow along with the zoning bylaw to maintain the open space. Who maintains it?
You weren't going to go the next step to protect the resource from
Well, it's hard to believe the homeowners association would probably do something like that because they probably wouldn't want the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Correct, yeah. I don't think you're going to see motorized boats on this pond, but you're going to see kayaks and canoes.
Dirt bikes, you know.
Well, dirt bikes is an issue right now. I mean, if I don't develop this property, then right now, like, I live, you can see my lot from this, where I live. So I know what goes on out there. I hear gunshots all the time, and I hear bikes, motorcycles, I hear four-wheelers. We hear that the kids are having fun out there, you know? But when a homeowners association owns that open space and now they're liable, their insurance is liable if anybody gets hurt, I doubt you're going to see them allowing the, because it's going to be owned by all 56 lot owners are going to be part of the homeowners association. So now one person says, no, you can't ride a quad, or you can't ride a dirt bike, then you can't ride a dirt bike. You know, it's not in there, it's not gonna be in there, so.
This question. Are you going to clear cut the area where all these homes are going to be put, or are you going to pick and choose which trees come down? I know it's outside of conservation, but I have to ask, this is,
No, absolutely, it's a great question. So basically, what we do is 40 feet around the home, and, 20 feet around the septic driveway. They're 15,000 square foot lots, so it's hard.
you'll be putting in the roads.
Yep.
And when will you start clearing the lots, once they're sold?
No, basically what we do is we cut the roads in first, and then we can kind of see where the lots are, and if there's anything, buffering, we'd like to see buffering, obviously, but they're only 100-foot wide lots, they're 100 foot by 200 feet deep. So the rear yard is going to have maintained buffer, there'll be a maintained buffer in the rear yard, and we'll try to leave buffers on the side. But, I mean, you have a 60-foot, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with a 60-foot pine tree 30 feet from my house.
Your insurance would not be happy.
No. So you got to be cognizant of that, because even if whatever we do, a homeowner's going to come in and spend $3,000 to remove a tree because it's going to fall on their house, or if they don't remove it, they're
Because
going to be paying for a lot more money.
Insurance companies are getting stricter about what type of vegetation you have around your home because of the liability, them falling. I don't know about any of you, but my homeowner's insurance says I have a $25,000 deductible if anything falls on the house. And of course, Alan is on his horse to clear all the trees around the house, but that's another topic. Josh, are you ready to tell us, to give us some hints as to what you'd like to have for conditioning? Because I'm hearing nothing from the board that says we should continue with our hearing.
I'm looking for one more site plan to make a point, but
In the meantime, are you willing to close the hearing?
Pam?
Don't we have to hear his conditions before you close?
no, you don't hear, you can hear my
Close without-
conditions before you close, but you
Okay.
don't need to.
All right.
I would definitely say that at least two conditions I would look at adding would be, the maintenance of the trail that is around the pond should be maintained in accordance with the Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, under, what is acceptable in our 30-foot no-activity zone. I would say that, the wetland replication should be proposed at a 2-to-1 ratio, with a wetland scientist overseeing the installation and monitoring for at least 3 years to make sure that it succeeds.
And you got one more coming?
Yeah, I don't have the greatest map to show it, but just for ease of time here, I will share this map. This is, Brad or John, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the old subdivision plan that was approved. I'm using this one just because I believe the green highlights would be resource areas.
Correct.
You would agree with that? So while the commission is making a decision on, what is proposed, this is what's proposed, it doesn't negate the fact that you will still always have the jurisdiction of the wetland resources that are on the property. So if it ever comes down to a fact where, somewhere south of the proposed development there's some type of violation within those resource areas, it's still within the commission's power to enforce the act and the bylaw. So, we still do have a lot of control over the protection of a good portion of the open space.
And yes, if you take a look at what is south of the pond, a lot of it is wet, correct?
You have a
There are some uplands there, but there are some substantial wetlands in that area, which would leave it for, if I take a look at the pale green there, that is considered wetlands from the original subdivision, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So we do have a lot of wetlands that are not going to be disturbed for habitat. Okay. So what would the board like to do?
Motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor? I'm going to, closing the hearing, I'm going to say Paula Jean.
Abstain.
Autumn.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
Kwame.
Aye.
Sandy. Aye. 401 to close the hearing. Josh has given us 2 conditions. I understand them to be maintenance of the trail based on our wetland bylaws and adherence to the 30-foot no activity zone, and the wetland replication, a 2-to-1 ratio, and a review for 3 years by a valid wetland specialist.
Wetland scientist to ensure success.
Okay?
So moved.
Is there anything else? Okay, I have a motion.
To issue your standard order of conditions with the 2 special conditions.
Yes, that be the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, before I ask for the vote, I'm going to ask that each one that votes, whether or not you have attended or at least indicated on a document that you have listened to the meeting so you can vote on it. Paula Jean.
I missed the meeting, the last meeting, but I think it was just continued. I don't think you discussed it that time.
You've been to all the others?
I believe so.
Okay. Autumn?
Yes, I've been to all the others.
Carol?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Kwame?
Yes.
Okay, so all of us have been to all of the hearings in which there were discussions regarding the project, so I'm going to ask for a vote. We have a motion and a second and a vote. Paula Jean.
I abstain.
Carol.
Yes.
Autumn.
Aye.
Kwame.
Yes.
Sandy. Yes. 401 to approve the project with standard order conditions with the 2 stipulations that were mentioned regarding the maintenance of the trail and the wetland replication.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the members of the commission for coming out there and walking the site. We took a lot of your time when we were out there. I think the shortest of the visits actually was with you, Sandy.
Only because I...
You know, in looking at my billing, even that was a couple of hours, so.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate all your
Thank
efforts
you.
on it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on this one. It's not, and good luck with planning.
Thanks. Thank you. Good to see you again.
All right, that was a big one. The next one we have is Nelson Street. Anybody here representing that project?
A nice night.
Please identify yourself.
How you doing? Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering.
Jason who?
Youngquist.
Youngquist?
Would you like to spell them?
That's okay.
Gonna wing it?
Yeah. I'm gonna just wing it.
All right, Jason, what can you update us with?
So this is a continued hearing. We've had, I think, 3 hearings. This is an existing cottage at 28 Nelson Street. Existing cottage and lawn area where they would like to upgrade, not upgrade, but improve the house, and in doing so, they determined that it'd probably be best to raise it up out of the flood zone and just redo the house completely, instead of trying to raise the existing one. The lawn area is wetlands. I know in the previous meetings, we had the house, proposed house being larger than the existing one, so we've reduced the size of the proposed house. We've rotated it and located it right on top of the existing house. I know before we had it shifted a little bit farther to the east, and the commission requested that we keep it in the same place, but we did rotate it because the existing house, as you recall, is not on the property entirely. It's actually in the roadway layout for Alfred Ave. So we're going to pull it onto the property by 5 feet, raise it up in the air, get above the flood zone, and then construct a driveway. The existing grass driveway comes down Alfred Avenue to the existing cottage. So we're proposing to gravel that so we don't, when they access the cottage, it doesn't get rutted and make a mess. So if it's a gravel drive, they can get down there without making a mess on the where the existing grass drive is. The commission previously asked for the intermittent stream to be shown, which is to the south of the house. It's in the tree line, so that was added. The 200-foot outer riparian zone line from the Weewantic River was shown on the plan, because there was a question when that was. And then the sewer stub and water stub that are existing have been shown on the plan, and then the sewer connection for the proposed house for the sewer and water have been shown on the plan.
Really? My plan is dated 2/27/24, and I don't see the,
On page 2, you'll see the stubs and then the sewer and the water line going to the proposed house. Yep, right there.
sorry, where's the sewer stub?
The sewer stub, I'll have to,
Uh-uh.
my sewer stub is labeled. I have a pointer, but the batteries are dead. Here's your water service, and the water service going in. And then the sewer stub, I'm sorry, that's the sewer. And then the water service is up here, and the water service is going in here. There's the water gate, here's the sewer gate, and that goes right into that.
Yeah, but where's the sewer line? Where is your stub?
Right here.
Okay, that differs from what the sewer department has.
That came right off their card.
Yeah, I've seen the card.
So they come off of the existing cottage, and then they use the utility pole that's right there for reference, and that's how we got that location, that sewer stub.
Interesting. Okay, anything else on this?
That was all the additional information that we'd provided, that was requested.
You put gravel down for that driveway, it won't take long for that gravel to disappear in the dirt. Okay,
I'm sorry, I was gonna respond.
no, it will sink into that wetland. Yeah,
But its whole purpose was to provide a stable base, so they don't rut, and even if it does sink in, it's still in there for that stable base, and you won't get the rutting that they get now when they drive out to the cottage.
okay. Questions, Paula Jean?
No questions, thank you.
Autumn?
I have no questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Denise?
Okay. This whole project is taking place in a wetland?
The existing cottage and lawn area is in a wetland.
Wetlands. Okay. It
And
is-
flood zone.
It is the commission's we are bound to prevent wetland loss in the bylaws. Now, obviously, if it's all in the wetlands, you're disturbing wetlands, and then you have no replication in place because there's no place for you to replicate.
Correct, we're not filling in the
Then when there's people
wetlands.
inside this home, they're just gonna just stay in this house or stay on the deck? They're not gonna troop around in the wetlands?
So the lawn area is gonna continue to be utilized,
But
just
the
as
lawn
is
area
now.
is in the wetlands.
It is, the entire site is. We're not filling in anything, so there's no loss of the wetland area, there's no loss of the flood zone. We're just raising the house up out of the flood zone, and that'll
And
be on
does this
pilings.
house at present have like a kitchen and a bathroom in it?
It's got, it's a regular, actually, I have photos here. It's dilapidated, needs,
I see the outside of it. Does it have a kitchen and a bathroom in it? Or is it just a shack sitting there?
no, it was actually used.
From what I understand, electricity has been run out to it now?
There was always electricity to it, there's a utility pole, that's right there, that I pointed to
From what
previously.
I understand now, the house has electricity in it?
Yes,
And did you get permission to do that?
I was not taking part
Involved
in any of
with
that.
that.
Nope.
So when the house is occupied, where are they gonna troop around? In
They're
the
gonna utilize the lawn area as they do,
Which
as it
is in
would
the
be now.
wetlands?
Oh, Denise, here's a picture of the lawn.
I've seen it.
You've been out there?
Seen this thing. But it's still in the wetlands. And I just have a problem with the fact that we're supposed to be minimizing what happens in our wetlands, and that if you start with putting a house in the middle of the wetlands, that what else is going to happen to the other areas around this.
The house was built in 1930. The cottage was built in 1930, well before the Wetlands Protection Act.
Well, that doesn't bother me to the extent that what you want to do is going to be really an invasion in the wetlands. You're not expanding at all at this point. You've shrunk it back down to that. It's at the
Right, and
original
raising it up.
to the footprint. There's no replication in place. If we look at our bylaws, the commission is supposed to prevent loss of wetlands, avoid wetlands alteration, and minimize wetlands alteration. Where alteration is unavoidable, shall require full mitigation, the commission may authorize or require replication, which you can't do.
We're not taking any away, though, either.
You're putting a house in the middle of wetlands. That's not,
There is a house there, though.
you're telling me that's a house, but okay.
The cottage.
The Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries, the project plans do not delineate the margins needed around proposed dwelling for the construction access of the building. Given the proximity to the salt marsh habitat, the margin needed would likely include salt marsh area. Is that happening?
Are you familiar, this is a letter from the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries dated February 26, 2024. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Okay, that is what she is referring to. Sorry.
It's okay. Salt marsh provides a variety of ecosystem services, including habitat, energy sources for many fish and invertebrate species. The proposed new location of the dwelling would be located less than 15 feet from a salt marsh habitat. The proposed deck would be less than 10 feet from the salt marsh habitat. This proposed, you say you're not expanding, but she's referring to an expansion and encroachment, has potential for a variety of indirect impacts to the sensitive fisheries habitat resource, including increased runoff, nutrient transfers, erosion to the bordering marsh habitat in the long term, and the deck would impede future landward migration of salt marsh to the sea level, with sea level rise? Not exactly sure what that,
With sea level, there's a with in there.
yeah, with
Yep.
sea level rise. I mean, there's a lot of concerns from the Division of Marine Fisheries to start with. Then we have a letter from Eric Boyer, actually two letters from an Eric Boyer. The short one states the proposed work obviously isn't entirely within a wetland habitat, and you're bordering a salt marsh. His longer letter states, obviously no proposed replication. Town of Wareham Sewer Commission has a moratorium. Does that fall under this?
No, because the stub existed, the moratorium did not impact anything that had already been accounted for.
Okay, so this was, sewer system for this was accounted for.
Yes.
Structure proposed is 552 square feet. Is it still 552 square feet?
Matches the existing, I don't know if I have.
Because the assessor's field card for the property shows 352 square feet.
They don't take into account everything. They also list the gross floor area as 800, but they don't take into account the entire structure.
The new proposed deck is 12.1 feet from the wetlands and exceeds the existing footprint as it sits in revision. Is that still the case?
It's more than 12 feet from the wetlands. It's in the whole thing's in the wetlands. But again, it's all raised up in the air, so there won't be any loss of impervious soil absorption.
It says the project plans do not show limits of work nor the limits of disturbance for raising the existing structure nor building the proposed structure.
Yes, that's why that is all shown. We have the silt fence going around the yard to make sure that there's no when they're drilling the piles, that there won't be any sediment that's, gets into the salt marsh at all. Again, they're not digging a hole, they're not digging a foundation, they're not any of that. It's just drilling in piles and putting the house up in there.
Project plans do not show limits of work nor limits of disturbance for roadway improvements, nor water or sewer hookups.
Those are all on
That's been
there.
rectified.
Those are all on there.
The extent and limit of the yard is not shown.
That is,
Will lawn be constructed?
the lawn is already there.
The lawn is there. And you're gonna tell me that they're just gonna stay on that lawn and they're not gonna go into any of the...
They would need to cut trees, there's a tree line that goes around the yard, so that would be a violation of any of your, Wetlands Protection Act.
I don't know, I can't see us allowing work within the wetlands area.
Joe, any questions?
I just been out there a couple times. It is really wet, but I mean, there is an existing structure there, so I have no further comments just besides
Is
that.
there anybody in the audience or online that would like to comment on this? I'm seeing none. Here's a question for you. Do you think we can get any more information than we haven't already received from our neighbors, from Division of Marine Fisheries, et cetera? Would you be willing to close the hearing and then at the next meeting discuss our findings and vote on it? Paula Jean, close the hearing and vote on it at next meeting.
I definitely don't want to close it and vote tonight. I did come back with one more thing. I'm looking at the pictures of it for sale on August in 2021, and one of the features is how you walk through the marsh to the water, and it shows photos of it through the Phragmi days. And so as far as people just staying there on the lawn, obviously they're there because they want the water access. But I was wondering, when was the last time this was occupied? Because when I saw it, it took me 3 tries to find it, but when I saw it, it just looked like an old abandoned and dilapidated cottage of years gone by. I went inside it, and it was just like falling apart.
I wouldn't have been that brave.
Yeah, well, I was curious. And, basically, it's removing it and building a new house.
Yes.
For all practical purposes, so I'm looking at that as a request to go into the wetlands and build a house.
And our bylaw does allow an owner to have a 3-foot wide path to the resource area. I think that's part of our bylaw, so it would have been a very narrow path that they could have developed.
I've got pictures of it. It was fairly narrow, but just as far as them staying on the lawn, I mean, the whole enticement to get this is, I understand, to be there by the water.
That lawn is so wet, they can't hit bocce on it. I can't see them doing anything on it at all. But, all right. Autumn, would you be willing to close the hearing tonight?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I would be. Kwame?
I think we have pretty good information, yes.
Okay, that would be closing the hearing. I'm not ready to do a vote on it yet. I think we do a little bit more research. Josh?
You like my recommendation?
Yes, please.
The recommendation from the staff is that you deny the project. The proposed gravel driveway is within your 30-foot no activity zone, and you've routinely denied smaller projects with the same stipulation. Even if let's take out the fact that it's within the wetland, and if you only looked at the salt marsh as a delineation, the proposed structure is within the 30-foot no activity to the salt marsh that's currently existing on the property. I think there's inaccuracies with the proposed house being the exact same size as the existing house, and I don't think the proposed deck is accounted for in that calculation.
All right. I'm going to make a request to close the hearing. Someone please make a motion.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor. I will do roll call. Paula Jean? Just to close the hearing, Autumn?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Sandy? Aye. Kwame? Aye. The hearing is closed. I would like to wait until the next meeting to have some specific language that would be appropriate for, to support the recommendation of our conservation agent. Is that all right with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Hearing is closed.
So how would you like, do you want me to show up at the next meeting, or I don't, it's a little different than usual, that's why I ask.
Well, you can't take.
The
any
hearing
new
is closed, so we cannot take any more comments on the particular project. You may sit here and listen to our reasons for supporting the recommendation of the conservation agent.
Do you want a motion?
No, not yet. We're just closed the hearing. I would like to have strong times to make sure that our reasons for making the motion that Josh has recommended at the next hearing. Here's a tough one.
Absolutely.
We
It's
do-
very unusual.
We do offer a hybrid option if you want to attend.
Yeah, that's what I was, no,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably what I'll do.
So we have closed the hearing, and we will take it up at the next meeting for the documentation to vote on the project.
When is that hearing? When is that? hearing?
3rd of April.
Excellent.
The next hearing is,
Thank you for your time.
thank you, Dancy, 2 Seahorse Lane. Anybody here for that project?
I see that's continued on our agenda.
April 3rd.
Oh, that's already continued till April 3rd. Oh, so much for me listening and watching. The next hearing is Schmidt for 15 Narrows Road, which was continued until today. So anybody here for 15 Narrows? Night.
Good night.
So anybody online for that?
Yeah, Dave's online.
So, Dave. Dave who?
The big one.
Devin.
Oh, okay.
So we had this continued, waiting for some new plans because we wanted to see how they would vegetate the slope. Did we get new plans?
We did. I will pull them up now. Hey Dave, it looks like you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
You can.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Madam Chair, Commission members. For the record, Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan, Leone, representing the property owners. We have had 2 public hearings, and the last public hearing, there was a request for a continuance so that we can provide a specific planting list for the northeast corner of the property, where there will be a tree removed, and there's a steep embankment in that corner of the property. So we've added a planting list outlining 24 shrubs to be planted, the quantity, size, and everything's listed on the very top of the page right above the actual subject area. The plan was submitted 1 week ago and uploaded onto your website. So if there are any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Could you have made it any smaller to read?
Well, the planting list is as if Josh scrolls up, you'll see.
So there's
It act-
the area of the
down.
proposed plantings.
Is right there,
along
behind the
there,
house.
And here is the actual list.
Can you make it bigger, Josh?
Let's see. Beech heather, beech plum, eastern showy aster, sea lavender, juniper, switchgrass, grass. Tickweed, I can't read the last one.
Pink tick seed.
Thank you. Were you going to put some type of matting down until these have a chance to take hold?
We'd be happy to do that if you want to condition the project as such. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask around. Paula Jean?
Can you get back to me?
Okay, Autumn?
Thank you for the revised plan, no questions.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
Guarantee of the vegetation growing? Do we have it checked, like, within 2 years that it's still there?
Yep.
Okay, that was my only comment.
Joe?
None for me.
Josh?
Give me a second, I gotta figure out how to write up the conditions. But I think they've addressed all the concerns that the commission has.
Yep,
expressed.
they pulled the structure back out of the 30-foot. They reduced the size of the driveway and the parking area. Dave, I don't know if you heard or not, but sewer commissioners put you on a pending list. There's no approval for a hookup yet, but we have a list, so we don't know when you'd be approved for sewer. Sorry, folks, I put my sewer hat on.
This is the Conservation Commission.
I know. I have a hard time separating everything that I'm involved with. Too many hats. Yeah.
I did watch the meeting or listen to the meeting this afternoon.
Oh, you did? Okay. They pulled the house back to outside of the 30-foot. They reduced the parking area. They were going to have 4 cars and a turnaround. Now they just have 2 cars and a turnaround. So they're outside of all our wetlands, including the drainage channel that goes to the pond across the Narrows Road and outside of the 30-foot back from the Wareham River.
We are also removing the fire pit,
That's right.
the patio walkway, and the marine rails that hold that in place.
But I notice you still have boats and stuff on the land already. They're still there. But, okay, one of the things I'm concerned about is that you're going to have this up on pillars, 19 feet high? And you'll have breakaway panels around the pylons? Correct?
That's correct. That's what we're proposing.
And they'll be secured to make sure they don't float away? My concern is where you are and how easily it floods even now, that anything stored under that house must be secured to a pylon at all times. No deck furniture, no canoes, no kayaks that could be stored under there that could be easily floated away when the tide comes up. Can we condition that, Josh? I'm concerned about debris floating away. It doesn't, I mean, I think the king tide we had put water all the way around the house.
Yeah, I imagine patio furniture would be kept on the deck, so I don't think that would be an issue.
No, they talked about storing it under the house during the off-season.
Okay.
I think the insurance companies don't allow storage in a breakaway area.
That's something I can't cover, but I'm just concerned of everything stored under this lot, this upland on this lot is extremely, extremely small.
Yeah. I think there's already a requirement for breakaway panels to be tethered to the structure, so those would be covered. I mean, you could. It would probably be pretty hard to enforce.
Oh, and unless it turns out in Jack Nolan's backyard.
Yeah.
Then he gets new lawn chairs.
Sorry.
I just don't know that it,
Probably not.
yeah, I'm just
Okay,
thinking
I'm just-
logistically how that would happen. You know, so his furniture floats away. Or the commission sees it before anyone else, and then we issue them a fine. I just don't see,
And how do we know it's theirs?
Okay, all right, point. All right, I will back away on that one, okay.
The insurance companies give people a very hard
Okay,
time. if
now,
stuff
Josh, any
happens.
comments on this before I ask the public?
I guess the conditions would be, which are already identified on the plan, would be to remove the existing fire pit, which looks like it's being relocated. Remove the existing marine railway, remove the patio walkway, and then all the
Bless you.
proposed plantings will be maintained and ensured survivability for 3 years, or when they go to get a certificate of compliance.
Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to speak to this project? Yes, it's 19 feet above, this house will be as tall as Narrows Road. I'm surprised, yep, it's going to be real odd looking there, as I'm so used to looking down into the gully to see the shed that's there, to have this thing at eye level. All right. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's right, I didn't get back to you. I'm sorry, Paula Jane, I didn't get back to you.
I just quickly read the list of plants there, and I think it was like 26 or 27 plants, and from having done a lot of planting, it didn't seem like very much. I don't know what the square footage of the plant area to be planted is, but I know, like beach plums, the bare minimum is 2, or they won't, cross-pollinate. And the sea heather it likes to have its feet wet, really. You plant that almost in the water. I would love to see a little more plants. And then I was disappointed to see, for instance, the little boat still laying there that we discussed a month ago. It's still laying there, and I thought if that's an indicator of how things are going, I was not really enthused.
Yeah. Can we put a condition that no
No boats be
structures
stored.
will be stored on them?
I mean, you could, the commission has condition that no boats be stored in the 30-foot no activity zone,
Yep.
which runs right up to,
The house?
right.
Yeah.
So I think that accomplishes your concerns.
Which means every time they take that thing out, they have to carry it up the hill and put it around the house. Right?
Or on top of the septic tank.
Or on top of the leaching, it's not a septic
yeah,
tank.
sorry.
It's a stormwater,
Yep. Yeah, you're right. It's the dry well.
or under the deck or something, but not on the, not within the 30-foot of the wetlands. Okay, anything else?
Motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Hearing is closed. Josh, your recommendations for our, one more time?
I would say the removal of the fire pit, existing marine railway, the patio walkway. I would say all the proposed plantings should ensure survivability after 3 years. And you could probably expand onto that, saying if the proposed plantings do not survive, under the direction of the conservation administrator, they can be swapped out for plants that would likely survive
All right,
at that time.
close enough. Now, The last one?
Then boats will not be stored within the 30-foot no activity. So,
Do we want to put signs on there, Sarah, where 30 feet are?
I think it's gonna be pretty clearly marked with the change in elevation.
Okay,
If you would like to, you can.
but that be the motion. Someone would like to,
So moved.
I have a motion and
Second?
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, 500. The project is done. Dave, you got it with conditions. Don't do anything until you get the paperwork from Josh, okay?
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Evening. I didn't think this was going to happen. Okay, that is it. We now go into certification of compliances.
No. Amended order of conditions. Oh, sorry, you're right. I'm wrong, you're right. I skipped ahead.
I know, everybody's here for Pinehurst.
Okay, so, the first order of conditions, or certificate of compliance, is for 35 Maple Street. I did a site visit, and I saw nothing wrong with, issuing the certificate of compliance. So the recommendation would be to issue the certificate of compliance for SC 762457.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Next, please.
The next one is 77 Agawam Lakeshore Drive. This is the project that we heard earlier in the evening, for work that was technically never started, because they never did the proposed addition.
Okay.
So that would be, I recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance for SE 76345.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Yeah, it took a while to find 345.
That's an early one.
86. Okay, next one, please.
The next one is 15 Granston Way, SE 762670. This is for the pier and float construction. It is in substantial compliance with what was issued, so the recommendation is approval, or issuance of the certificate of compliance.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Next one, please.
And then the next one is 19 Briarwood Drive, SE 762025. And after my inspection, it would be to issue the certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstained. Okay.
I will add one more thing. Upon closer look from the attorney for 19 Briarwood Drive, it appears that there was also an older order of conditions that was issued, 1,393. I looked into this, and you guys are within your right to vote to issue that certificate of compliance tonight as well, or we can hear it at the next meeting. But
It's good to go.
It is good to go, and my recommendation at our next meeting would be to issue a certificate of compliance.
So we'll put,
Issue it tonight.
You can issue it tonight.
I move that we issue the order of conditions tonight, the old order.
SE 761393.
Thank you.
that's the
Second.
motion. I heard a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, now we are on to the amended order of conditions for 114 Pinehurst Drive. Okay, Josh. Please come forward and identify yourselves.
Kevin Murphy, trustee.
Kathleen Ransom, President.
David Moore, trustee.
Oh, thank you.
All right. We have an amended order of conditions for the Pinehurst Beach Improvement Association.
So this is a project that I felt the commission should go and look at. This project initially started as the construction of the jetty, and during the construction, there was material moved that would have been in violation of the the Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw. So I asked the commission to go out, take a look at this project, and see if the moving of that sediment was justified in, one, in enforcement, but two, also for beach nourishment in putting that material back.
All right. So, your comments, please. David, you want to take it?
Quite a bit of the sand that was moved, it appears that it's moved back to where it started. According to our pictures that we have, some of it still is downstream where it was placed, but we would strongly encourage the representatives of the commission to go out and take a look. We're not opposed to beach nourishment. We'd be more than happy to do it. We just don't know where the commission would like us to put it, because if we put it on top of the area where the sand originally came from, it's going to build a mountain there, because it's already at the elevation where it started. And we're concerned that it would create problems, additional problems for the drainage pipe just upstream of where the sand was, or where the sand has moved back to. So the only alternative I could see would be to place it down closer to the clubhouse, downstream, and see where Mother Nature takes it.
Well, it seems to have had a mind of its own recently, too, because I was quite surprised to find that it had been pushed back to close to where it came from. Yeah. Anybody else on that? Josh, did you come to the same conclusion, that it sort of moved on its own?
I do think that there has been migration of the sand on the property. I went out, so the picture that I'm displaying now is from February 1st. I don't think it would hurt to put more sand a little bit behind this rack line. I think that's where all the sand was moved from before. But in my opinion, I have seen very little migration of the sand from up against this seawall.
Because I was looking closer to the beach house.
I have a few photos of that as well. Or a photo. So this is the photo of the clubhouse on the left, looking towards the jetty.
What is your recommendation?
I think there was a violation of the bylaw with the moving of the sand, and I think it requires some type of nourishment.
All right. Taking from moving what's there or bringing in brand new?
Bringing in brand new.
And placing it where?
I think the majority of the moving of sand happened between this rack line and the edge of the seagrass there. The salt marsh grass.
So placement into high water mark down to the low mark?
I would say that's appropriate.
About how much?
I believe that there are calculations of how much material was moved by the Valco Marine who did the moving of the sand. So I think we should get his opinion on the exact number that was moved.
So we need to have some idea of how much has to be replenished.
Yeah.
And it's not to be moved from where it is now. It's not to be pushed back.
It should be new material with sieve and house analysis to determine the grain size. That's no different than any other beach nourishment project you would condition.
And that would be done by hand or small equipment, soft rubber, only at low tide?
I think we should get an idea of how much was moved before we
Okay.
make, I mean, if it, depending on how much it was, maybe makes more sense on how to condition that part of the project.
All right.
You know, the other portion of that is how do you get a machine down there?
Especially, you can't come down to the rocks anymore.
It would
So
be
there's
different.
really no way to put it on the beach anymore now that the steps are gone and rocks are in its place.
Lifting onto the beach.
There is a way to get something down there. It's not as easy as it was previously, but.
Okay. It depends on how small of, or how big it has to be. So who would be asking how much was moved? Would it be us, or would it be the organization to provide?
I can reach out to Valco Marine and talk to.
Josh will do, okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue, more than likely continue this until we have some idea of how much has to be replenished. Is there any questions you have?
So how do we look at what was moved versus what has come back? So I'm just making this up, I have no idea what the real numbers are. So if 10 yards were moved and 5 yards are replaced, we get Vlaco to sort of estimate what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
Looks like
he
now.
could do that. I think a picture says 1,000 words, so if we could get pictures of what was previously there. I'm sure one of the members in the audience here probably has prior pictures that they'd be willing to share with the commission. I think it's something that Valco Marine and I can come up with a determination on what's appropriate.
Okay, so we will continue this until we,
Chair, I have
Yes,
some
yeah.
questions about what's going on that path that goes down from their fence, where that big boulder's been put and where all the stones have
yeah,
been put.
that's the town paper road.
Okay, if it's the town paper road, then it's supposed to be having access for people to get down to the water?
Yes,
Okay, and how can they do that now with all those small stones there that seem to be
Yep.
a safety issue?
it was a safety issue with what they had, they couldn't
Right.
use the stairs.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I think if somebody's going to end up killing themselves trying to get
What
down
would you
those-
recommend?
Well, the removal of those small stones and something put in that can actually access the water with.
So the town chose to remove the broken stairs and put down this riprap. There must have been a decision made by municipal maintenance to make that approach.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that it's the town-owned paper road to not what would be public access to the beach.
But they have it, the signage up telling you when the beach closes, that no dogs are allowed on the beach. And, I mean, they're stating with their signage that that is public access to both that beach that's right in front and the water. So, one way or another, it has to be addressed. Is that access? And if it is, then it's got to be fixed so that you can actually access it, because you can't do that with the stones the way they are now. And if it's not access, then the town signs have to be removed so that people aren't trying to get down to the beach that way, and they're not supposed to be.
Will you speak to municipal maintenance regarding that?
I think there's probably a conversation with the applicant to be had on if they want to allow the public there or not.
Well, it's town property.
But onto private property.
Yeah.
So either the signs can come down.
Right.
Signs have been there for decades, back when there was a lifeguard provided by the town, and a lifeguard chair, and a lifeboat. and
Onto
tho-
the beach?
Pardon me?
There was a lifeguard on the beach there?
Absolutely, for
Yeah.
Okay.
for decades.
All right, so it was your beach with a lifeguard on it?
Correct, that is correct.
With a town
That is correct.
lifeguard on it,
That is correct.
but no access for supposedly people to get,
Well, that
They have the stairs.
been there, and there was a
Okay, but-
flight of stairs there.
right, and they could get to the water, but they couldn't have beach usage. Is that correct?
If you crossed the beach, you could get to the water.
Water. I'm just confused as to what exactly this thing is. Is it public access to the water? Obviously, you're saying it's not public access to the beach. It's just to the water?
That was all done at a time where the town and the association, it was a very open relationship. The town provided the lifeguard, the stairs were there on town property, and the public used it. The association never was opposed to it, but the last probably 4 or 5 years, because the stairs had deteriorated, the town put up a sign, no, you can't go any further. State law says that you can go down there to fish, that's state law, but as far as...
From the beach?
You can go down onto the beach to fish.
Fish.
In the water.
In the water.
Gotta be in the water, okay.
Right. But because of the way the laws have been enforced with liability issues and everything else, privately, the association is responsible for what goes on the beach. So we don't encourage the public to just walk out on the beach and have a great time.
Okay.
Unless they're a member. And if they're a member, they come through the association property, and that takes care of it. But I believe the stones were not put there to make it easier to access the beach. They were put there to control the erosion because the drainage system isn't working properly. And without those stones, you got a real big the town's got a real big problem.
But if it's access to the water for the public, then it needs to be access to the public, to the water.
Well,
It
that's
can't
not,
be-
that's the town issue, and we will address it with municipal maintenance. That's not this organization. And honestly,
It also needs to be posted somehow by your organization that the beach is private property.
It is.
I didn't see that, to be honest with you
Well-
today. I did not see a sign that said that the beach was private property.
There's one right on the gate, it's bright red.
On the gate, but not down where.
Oh, sorry, all right.
You
Actually,
need to have
there is another one that was taken down, up the post, and it's actually up, it's on the front of the property.
Okay.
With all that project.
Just
that
make
needs to
it
be put
clear
back
so
up.
that you're not having an issue down there.
yeah, so I think if you get a hold of Mr. Menard and ask him if he, or Mr. Sullivan, ask him regarding the access to that beach at the end of the public, of the paper road. Because the town may own, you own the property, you own the beach all the way around Pinehurst, yes.
Correct.
And honestly, I'll say it again, I can't tell you how many times I walked up there to go swimming off that float that was in the middle of that river, because that was the only place to swim at low tide is Pinehurst. And I walked all the way from Minot Forest, so I had a long walk.
But the town always used to pick up the seaweed, they used to pick
Yeah,
up the trash.
mhm.
It was always private property, but as
But-
David just said, things were looser back then.
So, yep,
Now the town basically, well, years ago said, you know, we're not paying for things on private property.
Josh?
I'm gonna only speculate to what the town administrator and director of municipal maintenance is gonna say, but I believe if this is identified as a safety hazard, they're gonna put a fence up. They're not gonna spend the thousands upon thousands of dollars of engineering something to create a safer.
But if they just remove the sign, then that takes care of Denise's issue that says, the sign says you have access to the beach. So it says lifeguard, it says no dogs, it says, that type of thing. So if they are not, if it's not intended for the public to walk down those stones, then we have to remove the invitation to walk down those stones. I think that's Denise's issue, is that, hey, you got a beach and you can't get to it safely, right?
Right,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a safety issue down there.
Yeah, so-
Somebody's gonna get hurt trying to get down to the water unless they make it clear that you're
Well,
not supposed to be going down.
Everybody in the area knows what those signs exist, but if you take the signs down, then liability isn't, just talk to Mr. Menard.
Right, put up even a sign that says no public access, something
that is letting them know that they can't go down there.
That seems appropriate. And
Okay.
I would say there's a lot of inaccessibility to the public in that area just because of how limited parking is on the one-way road, and it's really not invited for anyone who doesn't live in that community to access.
Okay. Thank you. So, yes,
Also in that letter, to amend the notice of intent, we had just, we need some beach nourishment, and we need some sand on top of the wall. We just want to make sure that this is all covered when, in the final.
we stand on top of the wall on your private on your clubhouse property.
Yes.
To the left of the road. We
because
lost
the
several
last-
inches this past winter.
Yes.
With the high water we've had, we lost 6 inches of sand across the top of that wall, and we'd like to make sure that we're covered to replace that sand.
Okay. Okay, so we'll find out how much we need.
Yeah, I will, I'll reach out to Blacko Marine. I will talk to the Director of Municipal Maintenance as well. And we
Okay.
will continue this till April.
So we will continue until 4:03. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're continuing to 4:03. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next thing we have is an enforcement order, Josh.
So the applicant on that project is working with JC Engineering to put together a site plan and come back before the commission with a notice of.
Okay, so we have a notice of intent pending.
Yeah.
We have two sets of minutes of February 21st. Has everybody, any comments on the February 21st minutes? I've passed them off to Josh.
I have one comment. I noticed
Please, we still, excuse
still in
me.
a meeting.
We're still in a meeting. Can you take your comments in the hall, please? Thank you. Thank you.
both sets of minutes, Jessica Parr was not
Yes.
listed, it not either present or not
Yes,
present.
that note was made.
Okay, all right, that was all.
And
then another-
anybody else have a comment on February 21st? Yes.
Kathy Papalardo's name
Name
was
was spelled-
spelled very strangely in the.
It's been corrected.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
I notice if you take a look at all the continued hearings, they have the wrong dates,
Okay.
and that's been corrected. So any other comments on February 21st, 2024?
That was really good, Paula
Yep.
Jean. That was good.
And
A motion to accept the minutes from February 21st, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor to accept?
Aye.
March 6, 2024. The minutes have been, I've reviewed them. I've given Josh my couple notes regarding who was and was not there. And I didn't find anything else in that set of minutes other than I really want the associates to be identified as associates on the attendance. So anybody else on that March 6?
I motion to accept the minutes from March 6th, 2024.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Next thing we come down to is a bylaw revision. I sent out late today an article regarding the changes that will be presented to special spring town meeting regarding the article. What we're going to do is, the article is being proposed to remove a sentence in our section, Division 6, Article 1, Section XIV 1016.
XIV would be
14.
Oh, yeah, I before the V is one less. Okay. What we are going to do is that we are removing a sentence called, "These regulations shall be limited to administrative matters, including not limited to procedures governing the amounts of filings and fees and the supplemental requirements of the application." By removing that letter, that sentence, it allows us to respond to all the DEP requirements that will be coming down. Josh, you want to comment on that a little bit better than I just did as to why we are removing that sentence?
So removing that sentence allows the commission to move rules and regulations out of the bylaw. And by doing that, it allows you to hold a public hearing for rules and regulations that you feel are fitting for the commission in its enforcement of the act and the bylaw. And it doesn't require us to go to a town meeting every time a minor or insignificant revision is made. The last revisions to the bylaw happened in 2016 with Mass DEP promulgating new wetlands regulations in 2014 and their upcoming regulations in 2024. This is going to make it a lot easier for the commission to address those concerns with new regulations and more effectively protect the resources. And before we have more concerns about why did we have to hire a consultant to address the removal of one line in our bylaw, we are planning to come with more regulations in the fall. So that is not where that interaction with the consultant ends.
Oh, thank heavens.
So Paula Jean gave me one correction, and I will make that before I submit it to Town Hall.
Madam Chair, I have three things that I'm not sure where in our meeting that they get addressed.
Okay.
The first was 71 Agawam Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, wait a minute. Are we done? We need to vote on whether or not you people approve the article as submitted.
Motion to approve the article is submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? So I will put on it that we voted at tonight's meeting to approve the article and submit it for town meeting consideration. Anything else? Josh, were you all right with the changes I made to that article?
Yep.
Okay, Denise.
71 Agawam Lakeshore Drive has a collapsed dock that's sinking into the pond or whatever, the body of water that it's on. It obviously is detrimental to the resource area. I think it needs to be addressed.
Okay. We'll ask Josh to take a look at 71 Agawam Lakeshore Drive, right?
Okay.
Sounds good.
The land trust land that's next to 14 Cove, someone has cleared a hill on it. It needs
Yes,
to be
they have.
replanted. Josh said that there was a tree that was removed that also needs to be, Joe, I'm following Kwame, he got me. Boats, yeah, tree removal that needs to be replanted. Boats are near the water there, and I'm not sure how to report those boats. If we report it to Gary, so that, or the land trust reports to Gary to get those boats
Those
off of the water.
boats are, where are those boats located? They're not on they're not on Cove.
They're right on the beach right there.
Not on Cove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. 14 Cove.
They're just
Yeah.
to the left of the clearing of that base.
Stairs that come down.
He's showing me a picture, Agawam.
Oh.
Now, the land opposite 13 Cove has been cleared. There's pictures of the materials being driven away. They have a license plate. We're requesting the police department to provide the Wareham Land Trust with that license plate number because that land is part of the North Water Street land owned by the Wareham Land Trust.
Can they post that that's their land and people shouldn't be doing stuff on it?
There is a kiosk down around the corner on North Water Street that talks about how that land is part of the Wareham Land Trust. There is a boat on the water at the corner of North Water and Cove, and that dinghy has been there for years, reported by the stewards for years, so they're aware of it. They're aware that the seawall down there has been breached and it's eroding into the water, so it's been reported by the steward for years. And I'm going to say that because I'm the steward of that property for years, so it's been identified to the Wareham Land Trust that the seawall has been breached, trees are falling in, and that there are dinghies stored on the upland in that area. But this is the first time I've seen the land cleared in front of any of those homes. There have been, vista pruning here and there, but this is the first time the whole wall has, the whole
thing
strip,
down.
yep. Josh is aware of it, and he's working with the land trust, Elisa.
Care of it, okay.
Isa,
Yep.
sorry. Josh, wait a minute, Josh has his hand up on this one.
So I had a conversation with a member of the land trust this afternoon, and we are going to try to do something educational out of this, and maybe just, maybe in the summer go knocking on doors and letting the public know that, clearing of the bluffs and the bluffs and the banks down there
Say that 3 times fast.
yeah, is, one, a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, but it's also enforceable, and
That they don't own the land.
that they're technically destroying someone else's property.
Yes. Now, Land Trust has been very responsive to it and put up a erosion control barrier at the base of that hill as soon as they realized the hill had been stripped.
Yeah.
And then,
Wait, was that anything more on Cove?
The one thing I would add is the Japanese knotweed is super invasive, and without the removal of the actual root structure of those plants, it's very possible that in a month we have no clue that this even took place.
There was a tree cut. There was a base of a tree trunk that was cut as well.
Was it a recent cut? I'd have to go back to my pictures to see what it looked like prior to that.
Do you guys know if that tree was standing in recent years?
I gave up that site last year. I think someone else did the
Saw the stump, I just
study.
don't know.
But I'm sure the Land Trust will look at it and, okay, next one.
the last thing, when Kwame was doing what Carol's doing now, at the bottom of the sheet, there was a section for taking attendance as to who was there when you continued, so that you knew who could vote on things and who could not vote on things. I don't think that's happening now. And I thought it was a really good idea and that we should reestablish doing that.
Say that again? I mean, we put that in our minutes as to who attended.
Yeah, but this is right on a sheet of paper. You can look at the paper that Carol has, that she keeps, and it has the attendance right there, so that there's no question as to who was at the meeting.
There was a brief
Great.
stint of projects where I was creating a quorum sheet, and it had the opening date of the hearing, who was present. I can recreate
I
that
honestly
sheet.
don't remember it. I honestly do not remember it.
It was very, because we have to be careful with who can vote and who cannot vote.
That's,
And you're only allowed to watch one movie.
yeah, one meeting.
One meeting on the video. If you miss anything else, you can't watch it and still be able to vote on it.
Is it one meeting per issue, per
Hearing.
applicant, or one meeting per year, or one?
No,
meeting
one-
One meeting
Per.
For the hearing.
Per hearing,
hearing.
okay.
It's one meeting with substantial information. So if you missed 3 meetings, but 2 of them were continuances,
Oh,
then
no.
you're still eligible to vote. It's
Right.
one meeting with substantial information.
And that gives us a quick look as to who can vote and who cannot vote.
Okay, anything
Because
else?
you can run into a lot of issues, and even with who can sign the forms and can't sign.
Yep,
the
we've
forms.
been burnt once on that. We won't be burnt
Might
again.
get burnt again on.
Okay.
Nope, that was it, just those 3 things.
You want to talk about what happened down at Shangri-La?
Oh, what happened?
Listen,
So we will be moving forward with an enforcement order at 50 Shangri-La, which was the demolition of a house and the pouring of a foundation.
with no approval, nobody from the building, nothing at all. They just decided over the weekend, the house at 50 Shangri-La went down and new concrete pads were
Yeah,
poured.
that's not far from me.
No, it's not. So that's another one of an enforcement orders that we will be looking at, is the building inspector was not happy when he found that house gone. I think, anybody else on anything else on this agenda? I think 8:30 is enough that we don't do we don't talk about a workshop on DOAs. Anything else, Josh, that you'd like to cover before we adjourn?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second at 8:29. We are adjourned. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Thank you, and Denise, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.